I need to hear you.
Hi there.
Hello. Kimberly, dear? Yes. Hello. I still can't hear you.
I don't know how to make the sound higher. Maybe could you fix my sound? Yeah.
Okay. We have two.
There we go.
Aha. Wonderful.
Ha.
I know this thing can be tricky. Trust me. We have two more.
It automatically muted me.
Oh, yeah, it does. It definitely does. Well, we have two more authors that are going to be joining us, so I'm going to give them like a minute or two, okay? We're not going live or anything like that, so if you have anything, you got to kind of look at your camera and check everything out. Fluff your hair, do what you got to do.
Sounds good. There's
Hey guys, I'm Opus. You look beautiful. I'm Opus, and you are Kimberly Wilkerson.
What's that?
Kimberly Wilkerson. And
Yes.
then you have, now, what is your name? Your name is
it's Jeffrey Kipple.
Kibble.
Kipple.
Kipple. Jeffrey Kipple. Okay. Now, if I mess up, I'm horrible with names. So I'll remember Jeff.
Sounds good.
Please don't take offense. I am terrible with names. And if you're wondering, this is Orpheus. And he wasn't with me last week. We kind of had a little flooding situation. So he's come back to join us. So I'm so happy and excited.
What's the story behind him?
Well, he's actually my muse. I write dark literature, and
Yeah.
he is my muse.
Oh, that's awesome.
I go through the woods, and he actually acts in a lot of my cinematics. So yeah, he's awesome.
Very cool.
Do you guys have your books at hand?
I do.
I do not.
Do you?
I actually was at work.
That's okay. Do you have? Can you read a blurb or tell us anything about it?
Sure.
Okay. As long as you're able to do that, then I can, we can broadcast that everywhere. Okay. Well, I'm not sure if the other people are going to be joining us, and I don't wait for very long. I try to get right in there and get it done. So we're going to start with both of you. And Jeffrey, say the last name again right before I go on.
Okay.
What is your name? Last name?
Jeffrey Kipple.
Kipple. Okay. Kipple. I had an author, just to let you know, who I'm very good friends with, absolutely adore him. And his name is actually Lar. And it's taken me probably about 4 shows for him to be on. And I will still, to this day, call him La. And it's not purposeful. It's the fact that he was joking with me at the point of when he said his name. He goes, just remember La. And so I did. And that's what he became.
That stuck.
Oh, yeah. That's just how it goes. All right, guys, we're going to get started, okay?
Sounds good.
All right. Hello, everyone. I am Opus Knight, and you have entered Night Vision. Tonight, we have Jeffrey Tipple.
You got it.
Yes! I'm so excited. I'll never say it again through the show, I promise you. And Kimberly Wilkerson. And they are
Yes.
two renowned authors that are going to be joining us tonight. And I'm so glad to have everyone here. So, Jeffrey, tell us about yourself, dear.
Tell you about me. Well, I am an author of a book that's called The Ridiculous Adventures of Serbanand. It's a comedy book, actually a sci-fi comedy adventure book, and it's interlaid with empowerment messages as well. Bit about me, you asked. My background is really from the fitness industry. So together with my wife, I helped to start and pioneer what's known as natural bodybuilding and fit model events. So we produced all kinds of shows and expos and TV shows and realized that everyone was just focused on the outward appearance of their body and they forgot about the inside, the mental, the emotional, the spiritual. And there's an initiative that I'm an ambassador for called Rethink Fit. And I've interlaid different messaging in the book to give people those empowerment and self-discovery messages through the comedy and the sci-fi.
Oh, I love it. That is awesome. Now, how long have you been a writer?
So I started writing this book when I was around 16. And then it seemed to take like a 30-year hiatus with, sporadically working on it, every so often. And then I finished it last year.
So in your author journey, is it exactly what you thought it would be?
Yeah, actually. Even when the book was finished, the first edition of it had a picture that I took of some cool statue. And then when I said, let's actually get a proper author to, artist to do the cover. When the cover came out, it was what I envisioned when I started it, 30 years ago in my teens.
Oh, that's awesome. I love that. Now, can you show us that lovely book?
Oh, for sure. I know the background is not.
Try and put it in front of you and hold us. There we go. Beautiful. Love it.
So it's kind of like in the same genre as Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy with Monty Python and Faulty Towers thrown in and a little bit of Star Wars and maybe some Family Guy and Seinfeld.
Very nice. Very nice. Now, can you read the back of the blur?
Oh, so this is what the little intro is about. From Deltic sphagnoids to the Algernon sector, Serbanand and his slightly annoying, yet really super smart ship Gottfried careened across the somewhat vast universe, intersecting with Jim and Orville in some bizarre galactic space disruption that turned everyone's world completely upside down, or right side up, or maybe inside out, outside in. Well, everything changed.
That is wonderful. Oh, it looks
you.
like we have 2 more participants joining us. We're going to get them in, and then Kimberly, dear, we're going to talk to you. Can't hear you.
Okay.
Oh, I was talking to them.
Oh,
Don't worry, I edit well.
I stayed muted because I have traffic coming past me, of course, when people are talking.
Always.
So I try to mute it out.
Well, I love the real and the raw. So anything that I put on, you're gonna more than likely, if I can interject it in where I think it's hilarious or it's a great moment, it's going in. So it's raw footage, just to let you know. Christopher, darling.
I will not be surprised of something happening. The very first radio show I ever did, a train went behind me. So
without a doubt,
that's what happens.
we've had flooding. I had crows out front that kept squawking, and it was nighttime.
Mm-hmm.
We've had multiple things that have happened on this show. So you're all good. My cat attacked the wall. It's a fun time for all. Alex, very nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you too.
Christopher, cannot hear you.
That better?
Yep, perfect.
There we go.
All righty. We're going to start over. And don't worry. I'm Jeff. I'm going to put that right back in there. I promise. Okay.
All good.
All righty. So the way this is run is it's like a round table where if I'm speaking to an author and anyone else has a question or any concerns or anything, please interject. Feel free. You're not going to offend me in any way, shape, or form. Not possible. I just want to be able to have a wonderful conversation so that when I do put it on to go live, everyone can enjoy it and learn from your expertise. Okay? So they're a part of your journey as well. All right?
Cool. Yeah.
So, Kimberly, we're going to get started with you first. So I'm going to start the show again. Okay?
Okay.
Hello, everyone. This is Opus Night, and you have entered Night Vision. And tonight, I'm not going to say the authors. I'm going to let them introduce themselves. Haha, gotcha this time, Tipple. Remembered your name. Trust me, the audience knows I am horrible with names. It's okay. It's okay. We'll get through this, I promise you. Now, Kimberly, tell us your name and tell us a little bit about yourself and your book.
Okay, so I'm Kimberly Wilkerson. My book is entitled Kingdom of Grace, which came out in 2020. Actually, I was editing it and had it come out the month that we went into lockdown from COVID. So everything that was planned really got flipped upside down. So that's kind of like my life, which is how I got started as a writer. I'm a single mother of a special needs son and have been raising him 17 years alone. I've been journaling and writing my whole life, but I had a corporate career the majority of my son's life until I got ill from stress and whatnot. And that kind of spun me into saying, that's it, I'm done. I'm gonna be home with my son who needs me more than, corporate world. And I just wrote out the book for the first time, and this whole new journey started for my life.
Well, darling, I am so excited for you. And my heart goes out to you because I have been a single mother most of my children's lives, although I have a few marriages under my belt. Primarily, yeah. And my daughter deals with a lot of difficulties as well. So my heart definitely goes out to you. And I think it's amazing that you were on this journey for yourself and self-discovery. And I applaud you, truly.
Thank you.
Tell us about that beautiful book.
So it actually began when I had what many would term as a spiritual awakening. I have always been a very spiritual person throughout my entire life, always searching for God or the universe or whatever was out there, giving me this energy, giving me this these answers to questions that I had. And I had been in many different religions over my lifetime, and the last I won't name, but was very confining. And when I was disfellowshipped or shunned from this particular organization, it wiped out our entire community, our entire support system, and everything. And that perpetuated a whole new world for me in society. And this book kind of helped me through it, I would say. And it actually states on the back of the book, it's a queen's journey begins when she leaves her comfort zone and shares the love that she has with those willing and worthy to receive it, and bringing abundance all around her kingdom. And that truly is what I aspired to do when I started writing was, you know what, I don't want anyone to have to feel what I felt being ripped from my community. And so everything that I earn in royalties, I put a percentage of it back into all the nonprofit community organizations that are in my local area.
And would you like to name any of those or give them credit for being there and supporting you?
Oh my gosh, there's so many. We've worked with Lincoln, we've worked with Stand, we've worked with Coffee is now changed their name to I'm gonna have to look it up. I can't remember at the moment. It was a very recent change. And then we more recently, my son's school connected with an organization called COPE, and they're getting ready to have their 10-year anniversary and have had me come to be a speaker at one of their trauma events. So yeah, I mean, wherever we can put more emphasis out on these nonprofits is really always helpful.
Always. And you know, I find it very easy to kind of know they're there and they exist. Unfortunately, I think a lot of the time until their services are needed, they kind of fall by the wayside. So yes. Anyone listening, trust me, there are a million different organizations that need your help. And as authors and just as human beings, everyone goes through changes and life changes. So please, if you can donate even $1, by all means, I think that is amazing. And everyone at one point in their life finds tragedy, goes through multiple dilemmas and everything. So all of you, I am so thankful that you took the time out to show up for the show. And Kimberly, I give you a lot of credit, my darling. I truly do. And you are blessed. Trust me on that. You are a queen.
Yes.
Trust me, of your own universe, and you decide your fate. Trust me on that. You have inner strength you have yet to see. And that is the best thing to ever know. Okay? As a woman, as a human being, period. So God bless you on that. Okay? Always.
Thank you. You too. Thank you.
I'm going to find someone else to kind of bug in your ear and find out about you. Tippo, can we hear that book again? And can you try to show it again?
I can try to show it again. So
perfect.
The book, I'm hiding behind it. The book is called The Ridiculous Adventures of Serbenand. And I started writing it when I was around 16. I had just finished reading the Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy series multiple times. The series ended. I needed a story to continue, so I decided to write my own. And I came back to it every so often throughout my career. My career really spanned the fitness and wellness and empowerment industries, and got to, you know, kind of where you were, Kimberly, you know, during the lockdown period. Everything sort of had to go on hold. My wife challenged me and said, hey, why don't you go back to a passion project that you always wanted to do, never took the full time to do, and actually finish it. So that's what we did. Finished the book, got it also made into an audiobook, and put it out there. And it's really cool because my whole career has always been about helping to empower people reach their potential, or to transform, or to seek other ways that they can love better how they think and feel and act and look and dream. And my book provides this escape. You know, if you look at comedy being a powerful medicine, so many people are stuck now in sadness and depression and needing something to do. And it's a fun, quick read or listen that just provides an escape. So my goal is to, obviously get it in the hands of as many people as possible. I do donations of the books just so that I could get to the people who really need to hear it and escape and just have some fun.
I love it. Love it. Did you want to read the back of the book?
Oh, yeah. Sorry. So this is just a little description. The Ridiculous Adventures of Serbanand. From Deltic Spagnoids to the Algernon sector, Serbanand and his slightly annoying, yet really super smart ship Gottfried careened across a somewhat vast universe, intersecting with Jim and Orville in some bizarre galactic space disruption that turned everyone's world completely upside down, or right side up, or was it inside out, outside in? Well, everything changed. So the book really is about a character, Serbanand, who's this space adventurer, and his best friend, Godfrey, that's this ship and computer. And somehow Serbanand gets transformed into and transferred into a body of a guy, a teenager on Earth. And they're trying to figure out how they got switched and, how their worlds are all different and how they start to see things from different perspectives and things like that.
Beautiful. That's awesome. Alex.
Thank you.
Hello.
Howdy.
How are you?
I'm doing good. Alex G. Zarate. I'm an author, artist, and photographer. I've written urban fantasy. I'm currently writing sci-fi. I just published my latest urban fantasy novel, and I published a book on photography and motivational words that was prompted from postings I've done online. I had a lot of people tell me they wanted to have that in a book form, and I went ahead and pursued that passion. So now I have a book on photos and words, as well as my urban fantasy and sci-fi that I've been pursuing for so long now. So the latest book on urban fantasy is the Reflections in Darkness. It's a continuation. The series I started years ago. It's of a young boy who finds a kitten in the beginning, and it gives him the ability to see thoughts and to teleport. And I started with him being very young. At this point, he's already a teenager going into finishing out high school, and he's going through quite a bit of trauma in his life. And I thought, well, at this point, he's already maturing to a point where he's almost an adult. So I wanted to have him kind of face what would happen if things became very dark and he had to face someone who had the same abilities but chose a different path. So I create a kind of a similar scenario where the things that traumatized him and made him stronger actually broke someone down. So rather than being the hero that wants to help people, this person becomes the exact opposite, someone who wants to just control everything and use these abilities to pretty much kill anyone in his way. And one of the things that happens in here is he finds out that there's more people out there who have this ability. And before this book came out, he didn't realize that other cats have been out there giving these powers to other people. So it's a fun series, and I'm looking forward to continuing it until he's in adulthood. So complete his hero's journey from childhood to wherever it leads.
Nice. And do you have the book so we can see the cover?
I do.
Awesome. Oh, that is precious. I love that. Very nice. Did you want to read the back of it? The blurb?
Oh, sure. When three strangers arrive seeking help, Tommy and Snowy learn that they are not alone. The three arrivals share their gifts, but so does the one who is following, bringing a storm of devastation and darkness none of them can face alone.
I love it. Christopher, I know you've waited for a moment. How are you?
Doing all right. How you doing?
I'm good. I'm always good. Always interested.
My name is Chris Fink. I just published my second book entitled Kin I'd say about a month ago today. It's my first novel, my second book. My first one was an anthology of a whole bunch of short stories. But basically, sounds like I'm the horror guy of this group. That's what I've grown up with since I was 3 years old. I grew up watching horror movies and then reading Goosebumps and Stephen King and what have you growing up. And it got to a point where I wanted to try and be a creator of my own. And so I did a bunch of, short stories any 7-year-old would. And then I kind of merged that into screenwriting. I wanted to give that a try. I went to New York Film Academy for that. And I'm waiting on a short film that we're getting ready to film as well soon. But I thought giving fiction writing a shot, I wanted to at least for myself to see if I could complete it, because I know now it is a very demanding task to put out a novel. But I was extremely proud of myself for my anthology, and this one even more so. And Kin is basically it started with my love for werewolves, because they're my favorite cryptid creature, and they're a classic, recognizable Hollywood monster, fiction monster, what have you. Everyone knows what a werewolf is, but in my opinion, I feel like they've always been second best next to vampires. They're always right next to them. They're always being defeated by him, subdued by him one way or another. So I wanted to write a story that gave them center stage and nothing else in their way. So that's how it started. I said, I want to write a werewolf story, and I don't know what I'm going to do with it. And driving home one day, I remember like it was yesterday. I live more or less in the woods, and it was pitch black out. And I looked out the window, and just some reason I thought, I wonder what's out there staring at me. And my brain said werewolf, and I just kind of let it mushroom from there. And the story itself is basically about the dwindling numbers of werewolves, or in this case, I call them lichen, because kin is a play on words, because it's like kin, and kin as in relatives or a bloodline. Mm-hmm. So this story takes place in present day. It's about the last remaining lichen of a once great society that used to rule over humanity, more or less, kind of like the mafia or something. They would demand X amount of things from them. In exchange, they would let them live in their little towns, and they would oversee on castles high above. And the story that basically ended their reign was a la Frankenstein. The people got sick of it and basically rose up against their rulers and just drove them back into the woods. And without their help, they basically dwindled and starved, and very few survived throughout the ages.
Interesting. I love it. And actually, you're not the only one who was raised on horror.
Oh, no, I'm not.
At 3 years old, I was hiding behind my mother and watching Hush Hush Sweet Charlotte and watching some of the scariest movies probably ever written. And yeah, it's just, it's inherent. It runs through your bloods. It just it courses through the blood.
It's been with me since like I said, since 3 years old, since I can remember. The story I always tell is my Aunt Liz had me watch Nightmare on Elm Street when I was 3. And she fully expected me to scream and run out of the room, but instead, from what she tells me, I was laughing and having a good time.
Yeah, I'm your aunt. I'm that aunt. My granddaughter, I've done that to my children, to anybody. If you're in it, every Halloween, Halloween and every scary movie that I can think of is playing round the clock, and they know from sun up to sundown. There is no sun in my house. Okay, so it's just one of those things. I rate dark literature. As you can see, I'm kind of hiding him, but this is Orpheus, my muse. And also the actor in cinematics that I make. So yeah, love the dark scary. It's kind of me. Now we're going to get a little serious and have some fun. When you are structuring a story, do you have definitive qualities that you want in those characters from the get-go? Or are they something that along the journey they kind of develop? Alex?
Still me? Oh, okay.
I'm going to start with Alex, and anyone who wants to jump in, please feel free.
For me, I pretty much try to put as much as I can that's going to move the story forward to get the character to develop as time goes. I outline as much as I can. I put as much detail as I can. Unfortunately, I do tend to be more of a pantser. So as the story continues, about halfway through, my characters have a tendency to go their own way. And they will depart from the text and they will go into their own storyline. And whether I realize it or not, they'll start to form their own type of characterizations that I wouldn't expect, especially because a lot of times I'm putting them in new situations, and as I'm writing the story, it just naturally flows that way, even though I carefully tried to outline where it's going to go and where it's going to end, and he just ends up in a totally different place. And sometimes he gets, teenage, outbursts, or suddenly he'll just break down because something will suddenly hit him hard. And I'm like, I'm just writing the story, not thinking about it. And all of a sudden, oh, wait a minute, this is going to bring this whole traumatic event from his past and the losses he's felt. So suddenly he'll just lose it right there at that point. And I'm like, I can't really take that away because that really builds for the next scene. So I continue from that story. And as much as I have them set to go a certain direction, they do depart and go on their own way from time to time. And I usually just let it go because it tends to work a lot better when I let the organic process of the story just grab hold and take it.
I feel you. That's how I feel about it as well. Now, Tiffin, how about you, my dear?
Are you talking?
Yeah. Did I change your name already?
That's okay. For me, I just let the flow and the development happen through the story. So, for example, one of the main characters, which is the space alien, I actually never describe what he looks like. I describe all kinds of things that he's doing and the way that he's doing it, but I never actually describe it. So I've left it up to the imagination of the person reading. And in fact, when the audiobook was made, it took it to another level. But again, I never described it. But my characters, like Alex was saying, yeah, they some weren't so happy with the way that their characters turned out, and they actually went on strike. Within the book, we had to contend with that. That was a whole thing. But really, I let the characters develop through the story, and where they were from the beginning were not where I thought they would be at the end, and they just kind of weave through.
Mm-hmm. Nice. Kimberly.
It's funny because I think I do kind of a combination. I do let the storyline just flow, and yet at the same time, I have an idea of the characteristics for each character, but they do morph as it flows through. But I do have an idea of where they're going to land. I just don't know in between until I'm finished with the storyline of what they're going to go through for the entirety of it, if that makes sense.
Gotcha. Now, Christopher, what was
I do kind of the same thing. I start off with a baseline for all my characters, and I usually have the end, for the most part, in mind, with some checkpoints in between. But it's as much a journey, as much a discovery for myself as it is for the readers. And I found that it offers a lot more surprises that I never even I wasn't even planning on or never thought of when I initially started. For example, with Kin, the ending was a last minute change that I thought would be a good twist to add a little bit more and maybe and end it on a better note. I'm obviously not going to say what it is, but all the way throughout the story, I had one of my characters go so far, and then I really hadn't planned it to end the way it did. But again, last minute, I thought about it. I wrote it out with the thought of, if I don't like the way it is, I'm going to waste 30 pages of development or so. But the more I wrote it, the more I liked it, and I just kind of weaved the rest of the story around it. And so I had to go. It's an arduous task. I had to go back and redo certain things to make sure the continuity lined up. But those are the things I'm willing to do when I make these, when I develop these characters around the story. It's more or less I make the story and I put the characters in, and I just imagine what they would go through in that.
Now, how many drafts does everyone usually go through, or they find that they go through before they say, ah, this is the one? Can you guys instantly like catch it when you know it's a final product? Anyone?
I thought I was good like 7 or 8 drafts, before it got published. So I think everyone becomes a little bit more of a refinement. And then when you start having other people around, so my wife has helped me a lot with the editing part of it, and just new awareness has come up, and then subtle changes. And then like Christopher was saying, you've got to go back, make sure that you've kept the continuity, throughout. But I think by the time I was done, I couldn't look at the book anymore. I can't look at it. But yeah, I think you've got to go through many of those drafts before you get it to that period that, okay, this is good to put out there.
And I find that I've written specific things that I thought in writing I wasn't, they kind of just flowed and you didn't know where they came from. And those magic moments when that happens, how do you deal with that? Especially when, like Kimberly, you're at work, or, will you write in the bathroom? Is there a million different places that you find yourself, oh, my mind's wandering, the story's coming. The world stops, so to speak. Alex, how about you, dear?
That has happened many times. Usually when I get an idea, if I'm, on the road or driving, I just hurry up and bring the, the voice memo text on the phone and just hope that it's clear enough that I can just say everything in a hurry, and try to record it as best I can. If I'm out and about, I have a notepad I keep in my back pocket, and like other people, I write on, napkins in a restaurant and whatever I can, just to make sure I jot it. Because when you get these ideas and it's like, oh, I love this idea, or you figure out a way to finish a chapter that you were just struggling with, and you're just in the middle of something else and you can't do it. It's like, okay, whatever you can, just put it down as fast as you can and put it out there so that you have it and you can take it out there. Otherwise, as any writer would know, if you decide I'll remember that later, that's how you tend to lose things.
Yep.
That's happened many times to me, and I obsess over trying to make sure I write everything down that I can when the ideas strike. Otherwise, I worry that it'll be gone. But by this time tomorrow, I've gotten busy on. Oh wait, I had this great idea. Wait, what was that idea again? And it happens too many times.
Oh, definitely. True story.
And dreams.
I'm one of those people who will incorporate anyone around me. I don't care if there is a 7-year-old child with an Etch-a-Sketch. I straight out, can I borrow that for a minute? I'll call you and say, write this down, write this line down now, so people know. Kimberly, how about you, dear?
Oh yeah. Notepad next to the bed from when I wake up and I've dreamt something and I need to write it down. I've always have pads of paper with me. I always have note bags or notebooks in my bag, in my purse, in my car. And the phone is a lifesaver now because like Alex said, when you're driving, you need to be able to talk it out and make sure that it gets notated, because once it's there and we have lives, like other things come into play, especially like if you're driving, you're already on a path, on a destination. You can't just give everything up at that moment, but you've got to write it down because otherwise it's gone. And I have folders of all kinds of notes and, like he said, napkins, or whatnot, and eventually they gather together and then form that outline.
Christopher?
Yep, same exact thing. I guess it's very more common than I thought, because I thought I was nuts. I have I bought a journal specifically for that, and it ended up being filled with napkins, torn paper, sticky notes, pictures, anything and everything. Because, like everyone said, it happens. It's not at not convenient moments. I have my little digi recorder that I carry with me, not as often as I should, but I always have a pen within arm's reach and something to write on if it's my hand, just for a little bit, and I'll copy it down somewhere else, because those ideas are all my plans for the future. And again, some stuff that's saved me in my books that I've already written.
Yeah, I feel like I've written in every corner of the world somewhere. I will write on you. I don't care at this point. Now, again, Tippin, how
Jeff.
do you say it?
It's Jeff.
Jeff, I love that. Let's go with Jeff. Jeff, my dear.
Yeah, the same like everyone's saying, having little places where you can write something down and a folder where you put them in. I mainly rely on I've got the iPhone, so I've got that around so I could always jot something down, record a voice note, or just type something out, or just make that right note so you can go back to it later.
Gotcha. Now, has anyone ever written a character where they literally have to get rid of that character or feel that that character is just too real for the real world? Has there ever come a point in anyone's writing? Or did you think it's too cliche or too dangerous or too risque kind of thing?
I think there's some things that are probably that society's not ready to hear necessarily, but that doesn't mean it doesn't need to be written. It just means it's not going to come out yet.
So you think that it's the author's, do you think it's the author's right to write it, or do you think it's more the author needs to, whatever kind of author, whether it's romance or something that is horror, but it's a hard topic, do you feel compelled to be that person to write such things? Alex?
I started out pretty much doing exactly that when I first started writing my urban fantasy. It starts out very dark. A couple of books I've written have started out very dark. Book one started with a husband basically murdering his wife in a drunken rage, and from there he goes to drown the cats that she was protecting. And so it goes into this very dark, very violent, beginning. And then after that, it departs from that, and then it goes into this other, other city, other place where the main character begins. And then one of the kittens that was thought to have been killed appears there for him. And that's where the journey starts. And I really had struggled. Do I really want to put this in here? Do I want this really violent, very, very, very dark beginning to put on there? And I kept thinking, it's like, well, you see this in the news, you hear about it in stories. You know, I grew up with certain things happening in you know, my life and in school and neighborhoods, and I'm like, it's not like it's unthinkable that it would ever happen. So I just decided I'm just going to put it in there. And I've had some people tell me they could not get past that first chapter to get to the rest of the story. And I'm like, okay, well, yeah, it is very dark. And later on, I even introduced this pretty much a contract killer who latches on to this cat that he wants to find out what it can do, and he starts hunting the little boy and the cat. You know, and it's like you know, God help anyone who gets in his way. And it's just like all these things just kind of lead in that direction. But when I first started, I was just like, no, I'm not gonna put any restraints on this. I'm just gonna see where it takes me. And the story just kind of developed from that point on. Today, I restrain it a little bit, but not to the point where I block it out entirely. In the latest book, it had you know, dark elements of, you know, corruption and things that went into it, where the mother of one of these characters gets killed, murdered, and the house burned down, and the kind of like the psychic, you know, trauma of that is what drives the one character over the edge. So he basically
would you say you're
goes
more
mad
subtle
over
about
that.
it?
Say again?
Would you say that you said you restrain yourself a little bit, but would you say you're more subtle about it now?
Yes.
You get the point across all the same, but your delivery is a little different.
Yes, definitely. Because when I first started, it was more blunt. I just, you know, this happened and this happened, and this event, just one brutal activity after another, that leads to the you know, the death and the murder, and then the killer gets away. Now I can actually bring this situation into play where you see the elements that bring it all together. So it's not as graphic, but you still get the same impact. You get the impact by the character who, you know, cares the most, who gets the most impact of it. He puts the pieces together as to what happened and where it came from. And then when the wave of, you know, this psychic trauma hits him, that's when you get to actually see, you know, what led up to this point and who was involved and why he pretty much has just been pushed over the edge, and he's on this vendetta from that point on.
Wicked Kitties, I'm excited. Especially because it's dark.
Mm-hmm.
Frank, how about you? Can you hear me?
Did you get me? Okay, so you got me again, wrong name, but you're getting closer. It's actually with my dad's name. On my end, I haven't really come across that because the characters are it's very light. It's not like too extreme on one end. It's more just a light comedy style to it. But I do address like key issues, but again, in a very subtle comedic approach. So it may be talking about certain things that other people may not talk about, but it brings light to it in a fun way.
That is awesome. See, I think humor is one of the hardest elements to put in a book form. So I applaud you for that. And forgive me, I am horrible with names. I will skywrite it. I am horrible with names. See, the thing is, I write so many characters that this is my excuse. I write so many characters, and I come up with so many different names that when I see someone 2 seconds into them, you know, speaking with them, I already have a nickname for you. Your diminutive has been picked out, and I can't help it. It's my brain. It just happens this way. It is not purposeful.
All good.
Trust me. Kimberly.
So I'm on the same page as Jeff, except for the comedy part. I don't write it in a comedic, you know what I mean.
But technical difficulty. That's what it is.
But the subtlety in my book is very apparent, and I did that on purpose, and I did that specifically for children's books, because when I write for children, my main goal is not only the child but for the parent, because I want them to discuss things, and the things that I bring out in my books that I'm writing are issues that a lot of the times don't get discussed. And so I think there is a subtlety that needs to be met, and maybe not like shoved down someone's throat, because I don't think that it would be well taken, especially from certain families that, you know, may be more judgmental or whatnot. I think a subtle way of writing is a better approach.
I like that. Definitely. Chris.
Yeah, I think it should be a definite healthy mixture of both subtle, but depending on the context or whatever it is you're trying to get across, especially the audiences these days, in horror, you got to give them something of shock value, I think. I don't think I've written anything too over the top. I mean, I've written creature features, and I've had a character kill his mother, which it's still, as far as I can tell, the voting goes, is my scariest one, and it's equally the most subtle. It's called Pen Pal, and it is that easy. And it's probably my shortest story that I wrote. But I do think it should be, so long as the context is right and the action is right and it just doesn't come out of nowhere. I think it's, you know, dealer's choice. It's the author's decision, and whatever, you know, let the audience judge it for themselves. Because if it's merited in the story, regardless of what it is, I think it belongs, so long as it's, you know, tastefully done, if you will, even for a horror. Because I mean, there's an unwritten rule I think everyone's heard of, is don't hurt the child, don't hurt the animal. But Stephen King's arguably scariest story, Pet Sematary, offends both of those, not once but twice. And it's still the creepiest story / movie I've ever seen and read to date, and it very gives me the chills. So I think that example alone, if you want to get a scare out of somebody, you got to poke them where they don't want to be poked.
Now, do you find when you are writing a script, do you feel it's the same? Do you set out for it to be structured the same way? What elements are different that come into play that you find?
Well, for a script, the obvious one is time. Because in a book, you have almost unlimited time. You can have a book that's 200 pages long. You can have a book that's 1,200 pages long or more. But a script, you're generally confined to 120 pages, give or take, depending on what you're writing. If it's a short film, if it's a feature, or whatever. But yeah, no, the focus is a lot different, because on a script, you are always thinking of the visual, whatever you're doing, and you're lending a lot to the actors that are going to be portraying these characters. So you can write something in your vision and they'll portray it a different way, and that merging will create something that you probably didn't even think of. Whereas in a book, you know, it's all up to you, and you have the last say, and you can hand it to your readers and get their opinion, but at the end of the day, you're the one that's going to be having the final say on this. So you can stretch out a scene as long as you want. You can keep it as confined as you want. You have a lot more freedom with fiction writing, I think.
I love that. That is a great answer. Definitely a great answer. Now, Frank?
Jeff.
Oh my God! Ah! Yeah. I'm trying to think of what can I call you that we both know it's a signal. It's you. I can't apologize enough, but you know what?
That's okay.
It's me. Ugh. Let me see. I have to look at you for a second. Hmm. Can I call you Jules?
You can. I've never been
It
called
will
that.
stick in my head forever. How about
Awesome.
Julius? Julius Caesar. Julius. Does that work?
It works.
Only for me. If I scream across the room, you're going to know it's me. All right, my dear. I have a question for you. Because you do write comedy, how hard is it to do stand-up comedy? And do you think you would be able, if challenged, to do such? Could you?
Maybe, but I don't know. It's different because I think in a stand-up comedy, you're writing something to a specific audience to get a reaction right there, and it's got to be instantaneous. And a lot of the stuff that I've written, yeah, it's instantaneous, but it also makes you rethink it for a moment. Like you read it and go, oh, okay. So it's different. I don't know. I don't know. I think it's a different element because you're writing like this. I would say the story is, it's not that every line is a joke. It's more the style and the lightheartedness of every line, as opposed to a stand-up. Every single thing that you say has to lead to a joke, has to lead to a laughter. And in a story, you can do that, but only so much because you still have to develop story.
Now, do you think you can add the dark elements to comedy? I mean, I know they have sort of dark comedies, but do you think it's possible to kind of have those two intersect?
Of course, one of the characters, the computer, becomes an evil computer, and he does all kind of crazy things and takes over stuff. So yeah, you can. Again, there's that subtlety of where you're going and how far over the line you go. I read a lot of horror. Like one of the first books I ever read as a kid was The Shining. So that's still in my world. But it's where you cross that line. If you want to keep it still that very lighthearted end, then you're kind of poking a fun at the horror, but still trying to get that dark aspect to it, right?
I love it. I love it. I think we're all Stephen King fans. I just have a feeling. He has cursed us all for life.
Yeah.
Now, I have had an awesome time, and I thank you all for joining me. And I'm going to go through, and I want you to tell readers, where can they find you? Kimberly, where can readers find you, love?
So I have gone through Page Publishing, so they can go directly to Page Publishing. They can find it on Amazon, Barnes and Nobles, Google, iTunes. It's everywhere, Kingdom of Grace. And you want to put the author name, because I tend to get lost sometimes. And the author name is K.M. Wilkerson.
Okay. Christopher.
My books are primarily on Amazon. They're both Kin and Sacrifices Incarnate. You have to put in my full name as well. It's Christopher M. Fink. And anything else by me is under my handle, The Horror Seeker. That's my brand name that I'm trying to develop. So it's either that or my name you'll find on Amazon, on Facebook, Instagram. Slasher, that's another platform that I found is great for any horror fan. And the last thing I'm working on is getting my actual website up, so that's to be coming soon. But otherwise, The Horror Seeker is easy enough to find. I picked a good name because nothing came close, so it's Google's
love
the only
it.
thing. That's the only thing that comes up for me on Google.
I love it. Alex, how can we find you, love?
You can just find me by looking for Alex G. Zarate. I've got a website, alexgzarate.com. You can do that search on Amazon. You'll find me in all my books. Any social media, Twitter, Facebook, YouTube, you name it. Just look for Alex G. Zarate. I'm there. I'm in every single platform that there exists now.
All right. Julius,
Well, you can find me not under Julius, but
my
the
strong,
book,
beautiful friend.
so the book again is called The Ridiculous Adventures of Serbanand. It's on Amazon, it's on Audible, it's on Kindle, or you could go to serbanand.com, and there's actually a sneak peek of a bit of the first chapter, both in the audio format and the written. And just, if you search by my name on all social media, it's Jeffrey Kipple.
Thank you. Say it again.
Jeffrey Kipple.
Jeffrey Kipple, everyone, has been wonderful tonight. Please go check out everyone's books, and we have had a fabulous time, and I hope you've enjoyed. Have a wonderful night. This has been Night Vision. Bye-bye, y'all.
Bye-bye. Thank you.
Bye-bye.
You're very welcome. Come join us
Bye-bye.
anytime.